Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the May 5th board meeting?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 5th, 2025 board meeting.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
I have,
Oh, go ahead.
I move to amend the minutes of the May 5th, 2025 board meeting to indicate that I was present for executive session.
Second.
Yeah, the minutes don't show, and I really tried to log in at the very beginning, but I just want to add that because otherwise it looks like I wasn't present.
Understood. All right, we have, Ms. Huddle
Okay.
has,
So is that it? What's your amended motion?
that she was present for executive session.
Yeah, just to add a note that I was present for executive session.
Okay. So we need to vote on that.
Yes. We have Ms. Huddle's amended motion on the floor, and it's been properly seconded. All those in favor? All opposed? Ms. Barnhart, I'm assuming you were in favor. Well, then I'll just go 6-0. Maybe she's away.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I do, yes.
Yep.
All right.
That's a yes on mine.
All right, thank you. And then back to the original motion to approve the minutes. All those in favor? Ms. Barnhart, yes?
Yes.
And then, all right, and the motion carries 7-0. That takes us to public participation. The board welcomes and encourages public participation. We respectfully ask that you adhere to the procedures provided in Board Policy BEDH, public participation at meetings. Your comments should be limited to 3 minutes and must remain on either the topic noted on your sign-in form or a listed agenda item. Questions asked during public participation will be handled in accordance with Board Policy BEDH.
Thank you, Madam Chair. David Jenkins is here to speak about supporting public education.
Can you hear me all right? And I have a daughter that graduated from Irmo High School in 2023, and my son is a junior at Irmo High School right now. Public education is vital to the health of our country, and we should be investing in it. But there's a concerted effort to undermine public education in our state and our country. So it is disturbing that South Carolina is now known for the fact that we've banned more books than any other state. And it's a race to the bottom. Reading is fundamental to a functioning society, and getting kids to read is difficult. But often all it takes is finding a book that speaks to them. But we are banning books. Has this improved scores in our district? Has it helped attract and keep quality teachers in our district? Has it reduced bullying in our district? All banning books has done is create outrage and division in our community. Please focus on improving our schools. Thank you.
Daniel Gray is here to speak about the book ban and board communication.
Whenever you're ready. Where should I begin? All right. So there's a question asked. Why do we show up in numbers on this subject? Well, because freedom to learn. This is where we can publicly communicate, right? Public participation. So if we're talking about a budget or proviso, things like this, we're not showing up, but I guarantee we're listening. This is how this happened. This is how this board came to be, because we were listening. I'm going to read a passage from someone. I'm writing with this in regards to banning the children's book. I am Billie King Jean. As a resident in this district and an educator of doctoral and postdoctoral students, I strongly disagree with the seemingly fearful atmosphere being created towards those different sexual orientations. I disagree that the romantic thing was pointed out there. I routinely find vast areas of knowledge and professionalism gaps in students across the educational spectrum who hail from our district. And the fact that gay people exist is simply not responsible for this issue. Other clear reasons why this book ban is wrong: the stated process was not employed prior to its removal. language, jargon, that sort of stuff. Bottom line is it wasn't. Indicating obvious bias. All right, so we'll skip past the sexual part because we say it's not about sex. Could be just about romance between two women, but call me crazy. You already have. So he's asking respectfully to reconsider that. So a couple of things. 120. God, better speak faster. Ring around the rosy. What that was is a spread of the plague's victim. So we're talking about bubonic plague, 3 blind mice. Way back to the Queen Mary I, people were protesting or apparently burned at the stake. 3 blind mice going around the mulberry bush, specifically female prisoners who were made to exercise around the mulberry tree in jail. This old man. Anybody seen that? Because I did. By the way, it's about men molesting children. All right, so let's see, 35 seconds. I do have a quote that I wanted to read. Taylor Swift, Shade Never Made Anybody Less Gay, and I guarantee you that people have been singing this. Last quote. School administrations rely on the mushroom method with school boards, keeping them in the dark, and then they feed them compost. Kathy Huddle. Quoted. Thank you.
Annie Mahaffey is here to speak about I Am Billie Jean King.
Good evening. My name is Annie Mahaffey, and I'm here on behalf of Midlands Apple, a public education advocacy group in Lexington and Richland counties. I'm here to express our extreme concern and disappointment over the recent removal of the children's book I Am Billie Jean King from school and classroom libraries in Lexrich 5. Removal of this book because it communicates King's sexual orientation is blatant viewpoint discrimination. I would encourage you to rethink the motives for and the legality of this decision. Last year, the South Carolina State Board of Education established Regulation 43-170, which sets the legal statewide standard for how books should be reviewed for age appropriateness. This book contains no mention of sexual conduct, as is very broadly defined by Regulation 43-170, nor does it contain any other theme that is deemed age inappropriate by state law. By removing it from school and classroom libraries, you are not only keeping children from learning about a famous female athlete, you are also communicating a prejudice that goes beyond this one book. According to media reporting, the school district used the 1988 Comprehensive Health Education Act to justify the removal of this book. However, that is not the standard by which the state determines if a classroom or library book is age appropriate. This book is not used in supplement to a sex education course, nor is it required reading, therefore it does not fall under the jurisdiction of that act. The removal of this book is in direct violation of current statewide book review standards as well as national anti-discriminatory laws. No one has the right to take a book off of a public school shelf just because they don't agree with or are uncomfortable with the viewpoints or lifestyle expressed within it. That is, by definition, viewpoint discrimination. How many other school library books bring up questions about heteronormative romantic relationships or feelings? What about Cinderella or Beauty and the Beast? Why is it okay for a 5-year-old to ask about romantic feelings between Belle and the Beast and not between Billie Jean King and her partner? That is viewpoint discrimination. May I remind you that if one parent disagrees with the content of a book, there are systems in place for that parent to opt their child out of reading that book. We encourage you to consider the repercussions of this decision and to return I Am Billie Jean King to our school bookshelves. Thank you.
Catherine Brookins is here to speak about I Am Billie Jean King.
Hello. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Catherine Brookins. I'm a former District 5 teacher. I'm zoned for District 5, and my preschool-age son will likely attend District 5 schools. I recently read an article in the state newspaper about the banning of a book about Billie Jean King. One of the positions I had in District 5 was teaching in a special education preschool program. A unit in the curriculum was learning about families. Part of what I was evaluated on was displaying family photos that students brought in. One of my students had 2 mothers in a same-sex relationship. Following the logic of shielding students from homosexual relationships, I would have had to single out my one student and remove the photo of his family and stop him from sharing information about his family, while other students were able to share about theirs. The families and students that make up Lexington Richland 5 are varied and diverse. All should be respected and treated with dignity. It is not the school district's job to determine which families and individuals should be celebrated and which ones should not. It is unacceptable to make students feel like they themselves or their families are less than just because they are or have parents who are part of the LGBTQ community. In removing a children's book just because there's a gay character, the district is implying that being gay is wrong and shameful. That may be the opinion of some individuals, but gay people exist, regardless of opinion, and their existence should not be censored. You said it's up to parents to answer the question of what romantic feelings are in an age-appropriate way, and that's fine. But why is it that you're only banning a book with a gay character? What about the romance in Rapunzel, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty? I want my son to be able to manage living in a diverse and multicultural world. I want him to be able to work with and develop friendships with people who are different from him. Learning about other perspectives and being respectful of people who are not like him is part of what will be necessary for him to be successful in his future. I fear what else District 5 will choose to censor next. We need to celebrate similarities and respect differences. Banning a children's book that mentions being gay is not that. It is not fair to be tolerant and accepting of some people while censoring the acknowledgement of others. I hope District 5 will put I Am Billie Jean King by Brad Metzler back on library shelves. Thank you.
Raina Floyd is here to speak about book banning.
Hi, I'm much shorter. So I'm a district employee. I've been in the district for a really long time, but today I'm speaking as a parent. Specifically about my experience as a parent at IES, Irmo Elementary School, when I asked that a book be removed from the classroom library. My son, who is, good grief, he's graduating next week from the Governor's School of Science and Math, because District 5 prepared him, thank you. He was in the 4th grade, and he was doing his weekly reading logs. I checked his school stuff to keep up with what he was doing. One week, I was reading his log, and one of the day summaries said something about the main character having a crush on a boy, but he was a gay twin. They were identical twins, and she happened to fall for the gay twin. Interesting. Nothing alarming, as we had openly discussed sex and sexuality the summer before he started 4th grade. But a day or two later in his reading log, it included a game of spin the bottle and making out. That I wasn't comfortable with. So I did something that every parent is able to do in the district. I reached out to his teacher. I was at Irmo Middle School at the time, and I know that we get books donated to us during or right after scholastic fairs. I assumed best intent, which was a huge focus at Irmo Middle at the time, and figured she hadn't read the book yet. When I reached out, she was grateful and apologetic. We both agreed that when a kid's Lexile level is high enough, that they're going to be pointed to books that are on their reading level but may not be suited to their maturity level. She asked if I wanted it pulled from the school library. I read over the form for challenging a book. This was several years ago, so I'm sure the forms have changed, and decided it was too big of a reaction to my personal concern. I felt like it was using napalm when all I needed was some weed killer. Challenging a book is being used in a way that avoids uncomfortable but necessary conversations between parents and teachers and librarians. Just because I didn't feel it was developmentally appropriate for my 4th grader didn't mean I wanted to keep it from 5th graders or maybe more mature 4th graders. As a middle school teacher, I knew just how early kids start asking questions about and experimenting with their bodies, whether it be with sex or alcohol and drugs. Honestly, parents who are unwilling to have tough conversations with their kids should be grateful that such books are available for their kids. Thank you.
Matt Eisenhower is here to speak against book ban.
Good evening. My name is Matt Eisenhower, and my son attends Irmo Elementary School. It seems clear from today's discussion that there are books in the library for the 5 to 8-year-old age group that discuss romantic feelings between heterosexual couples that do not have this extra note and requirement. What message does that send to the child of a same-sex couple? Why does the worry about one parent's response get to change the availability of a book for every other child in the district? Isn't the point of school to answer factually a child's question? I'm pretty sure the attempted destruction of public school education via school vouchers, attacks on vaccines, anti-masking hysteria, gun violence, and drunk driving are more dangerous to our kids than a book about an American sports icon who happens to be gay. Thank you.
Frank Gucciardo is here to speak about agenda item number 17.
The dreaded glasses. Good evening, board members. My name is Frank Gucciardo. I live here in Chapin. I'm the father of 2 boys in the district, a rising 8th grader and 11th grader, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here because I'm concerned about the recent discussion to create a 5th and 6th grade athletic team, specifically when our district still does not offer a district-sponsored 7th and 8th grade team for sports like boys lacrosse. While I support expanding opportunities for younger students, I worry that we're skipping a crucial developmental stage. Other nearby districts offer middle school lacrosse that allow boys to grow, compete, and develop their skills with peers at similar physical and emotional levels. Without a dedicated 7th and 8th grade team, our boys are either left behind or placed on JV teams alongside 9th and 10th graders, which brings up safety and social concerns. These age differences mean disparities in size, strength, and maturity, and more importantly, placing 12 and 13-year-olds in regular contact with older high school students who are in a very different stage of life raises issues beyond athletics, including safety and social appropriateness. In response, a group of parents, including myself, took it upon ourselves to form a private middle school boys lacrosse team here in Chapin to keep our kids on pace with other districts. But this is a stopgap solution, not a sustainable one. And it shouldn't fall on parents to fill the gap in a public sports athletic program. That responsibility should rest with the district, and our students deserve the same developmental opportunities as their peers in neighboring schools. I worry that if our district does not offer these critical middle school opportunities, our student athletes will fall behind competitively and potentially miss out on opportunities, including scholarships that could shape their futures. I respectfully ask the board to consider establishing a formal district-supported athletic program for 7th and 8th grade boys lacrosse and other middle school teams as a priority before expanding downward. Thank you. May I have that minute on the comments about the book? There was a minute left. Is that okay? So I'll just speak from the cuff. I have a 9-year-old, 3rd grade, who is not in the district. We talked about, we said 5 years to 9? Was that the age for this book? I agree with you, it should be a parent decision and discussion. My son is having trouble tying his shoes. And discussions about romantic feelings, if we're talking about love, English is a unipolar language. The Greek talks about love in many ways. It can talk about the storgis love, the love between brothers. It can talk about philos, the love between teammates on a team, brothers. It can talk about an agape love, which is a sacrificial, godly love. It can talk about eros, which is an erotic love. I don't know that that's appropriate for a 5-year-old, even to skirt around the topic of it, because we know what we're talking about, right? I think, Dr. Ross, you spoke about not placing my 52-year-old mind on the topic of same-sex relationships. It's not my business. What happens at home and in the bedroom is not my business. That's the great part of America. We can
Stephanie Lorick is here to speak about budget.
I'm here tonight as a parent of, excuse me, 2 elementary students to talk about the proposed district budget for the 25-26 fiscal year. There was a proposal for some salary eliminations, one of which was the removal of the 9 clinical counselors that currently service the district to assist with families and students in need of mental health services and support. As these ESSER funds ended in the fall of 2024, the board made the wise decision to continue these positions and services and added their expense to the general budget. Even though the additional funds for these positions has ended, that does not mean the need is any less. The mental well-being of our students is just as important as their academic progress and part of the whole child. The rate of depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts continues to increase among children, and the need for these services will be greater as well. The students cannot learn as effectively if they're struggling with mental health issues, and the schools need the staff to help support them in this way. I would like to share how one clinical counselor has helped our family. My youngest daughter has struggled with different parts of her everyday activities for years. For a while, we chalked it up to being a COVID kid because she was just 2 when everything shut down. She, as well as most of her peers at that age, missed out on many of their normal activities, going to preschool, church, and playing with friends at a very developmental time in their life. The challenges she faced became much harder when she entered 1st grade this past fall. She'd complain about going to school, or there'd be something not right, or any number of things that would make her break down in tears, screaming and crying, and ultimately make her late for school or anywhere else we might need to be. No matter the planning and preparation that we would do ahead of time, many days she would not get to school on time. However, once she was there, she'd be fine for her teacher, so the teacher never noted any concerns. The wonderful staff at our school did notice the challenges during our drop-offs and got us connected with the school guidance counselor, who then got us connected with one of the clinical counselors. We started meeting with her in November of 2024, and she's been able to help work with us as parents, our child individually, and the 3 of us together. With her help, we've been able to identify that all of these go back to a root of anxiety for her. We've worked over the last 5 months to help her in and out of school to be better able to handle the daily things that most of us take for granted. The growth and progress that my daughter has made, thanks to the clinical counselor, has been such a blessing to our family. We continue to work with her on things that cause her anxiety, but we are all much better prepared to handle these situations when they come up. We had looked for several years to find a counselor that would be able to provide these services that the clinical counselors do and support the whole family in working with all parties together. And many families... Really? I swear, I practiced that, and I talked much faster before.
Let her continue. Please let her continue.
Many families don't have the time, resources, or to find these resources on their own. I truly believe if more people knew this was a service that was available, then you need to hire more of them rather than remove their positions from the district. And if they're removed at the end of the school, the students and families that have built this trust and connection would not be given the proper time to transition to another counselor, assuming they can even find one. We are thankful to be a part of a district that cares for their students and families, and I hope you'll continue to care for their mental well-being by continuing the funding. Thank you.
PJ Thomas is here to speak about the Billie Jean King book ban.
All right, I'm ready. Hello. I was a preschool teacher, and now I work in youth services at a library. do you know how many times I have heard parents say, "Is that your boyfriend or is that your girlfriend?" Romantic love is something that 5-year-olds can understand and that their parents talk about with them. With my experience, I am no stranger to wild questions. And it's from time immemorial, we have been able to say, "That's a great question. You should really ask your parents about that." Why are we hiding books that prompt questions, especially if those questions foster parental interaction? We shouldn't divorce learning at home from learning at school. Our schools must be a place where every student is welcome, accepted, and valued, regardless of their race, religion, or identity. My little brother is gay, and books saved my little brother's life. He saw himself in writing at a time when people around him rejected him. If we hide books that discuss that identity at an age-appropriate level behind a special permission system, what are we saying to those children with that identity or whose family have that identity? We're telling them that they are other and that their existence requires special permission. That messaging eventually costs lives. Thank you.
Kim Felt is here to speak about book bannings. Our final speaker.
Good evening. I think that the comments from this section have really covered so many things, so I'm going to amend my comments a little bit. Some things that maybe haven't been brought up yet, just the fact that these are things that we're meant to talk to our children about. We've all had to talk to our children about things that we cringe when we have to talk to them about. I had 3 boys that went through the wonderful District 5 school system. I didn't really want to talk to any of them about erectile dysfunction when they started advertising that in prime time, but it came up, so that's what we did. I did listen to Billie Jean King actually read this book because it was online, and I don't know what I would have done when my kids were 5. I don't know what I would have said. I don't know if I would have wanted them to choose that book. So I understand that some things parents don't feel ready to address. I do think there's a little bit of a bias in that we tend to make same-sex things more sexual rather than less, and heterosexual things are viewed a little differently. But I think that there is room for a family discussion to say, "Sweetheart, this is not what we believe," or "This is what this is. This is why this person loves this person." Whatever your family values are, you can put them out to your child as you always do. So I'm actually satisfied that the board is putting a lot of thoughtful consideration into this and that there is a plan for further discussion. And I'm sure that you're aware the implications are far beyond this book. And that's where the rub is, isn't it? It starts something bigger. If I could use my last 30 seconds to clarify something that the superintendent said, if I may. Topic change. When you were talking about the budget and the weight of the students, I erroneously assumed that the students would be weighted by their needs or their level of need, and that seems completely wrong. Am I correct about that? Okay,
Actually,
super.
Dr. Ross, I think board policy does allow you to respond. It's not my meeting. Oh, okay, Ms. Snipes, I believe it does.
I recognize
Okay.
Dr. Ross to speak.
Thank you, ma'am. So there is a proviso, that proviso 1.3 does outline in House 1 and House 2 additional weights for needs. So if that's special education, students in poverty, those weights are added on. For clarification, we'll talk about this in the budget. For a district like ours, we start out at 0.75. So, and then with the index of taxpayer ability, we actually kind of come out about 0.6. So even when you add on special education, you add on poverty, students in CATE, those do not weight as much as a student who's starting out at 2.5. With the floor, I ask Madam Chair if I could have just a moment, considering the things that have been said tonight, and I usually don't do this, but considering the discussion, I do want to say this. We've been accused of banning books, and I'm not trying to get into semantics. I did place parental permission on this because of my review. I didn't give the full context because I think FERPA prohibits me from telling about what really happened in this case. So that does not present a full picture. But I do like what the last speaker said, is that this provides an opportunity for family discussion. And so because of that, I do want to say that this policy allows two pathways. So when people say didn't follow the process, remember there's two pathways. Pathway 1 is the parent, pathway 2 is the administration. But both pathways are provided by the policy. So because of that, the administrative pathway, I'm going to remove my parent permission requirement effective immediately. And if it comes back through parent, then it can happen in general form. So that is the power I have as superintendent. I'll take that. And any parent who does not want their child or not ready to have that conversation at 5, 6, 7, and 8 can reach out to the librarian and let us know. But I'll rescind the parent permission requirement effective immediately.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ross, and thank you for the community that came to talk about the various issues that impact our district.